Then I have a lot of Gemara today. He's after Gimel, and basically just to recap what we're doing. The Mishnah said that the Seir Mishtaleach is mechaper on all the Avedis, the Shar Avedis besides Tumah, from Amazid, the Shegig, for Asay and Loises, Mises, Bez, and Kars, every type of Aveda you can imagine. And we said this mitzvah Asay, what are we talking about? If you did Shuvah, then any day of the year, when it comes to an Asay, different than a Loises says, completely moichel. There's nothing left. Not like a Loises said, Taisa said, there's still some remnants. It's Mashayim Asay completely. So what do you need Yom Kippur for? And if you're going to tell me that he did not do Shuvah, so how's Yom Kippur Mechaper? You need Shuvah as well. So we said, no, we follow the view of Rebbe, and Rebbe holds that the Tzumah Shal Yom Mechaper, the day itself is Mechaper, whether you did Shuvah or you didn't do Shuvah. On all, except 3 Averis that we said are an exception, we learned from the Pasuk in Shlach, Var Havaya Buzzer, 3 Averis that are an exception. So then we wanted to know, since this Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda, the end of the Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda, when there's an argument, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, if the Kohanim who have a separate carbon when it comes to Tumah, they go with the power of Aaron HaKohen, and we are all from the Seir Hanasif in the goat. What about the Seir Mishtalech? Are they part of that? Or, which Rabbi Yehuda says yes, that they join Am Yisrael. According to Rabbi Shimon, no. Everything in Yom Kippur, the Kohanim are separate, because Aaron Bad Beisei includes also the rest of the Kohanim, which we'll see in the Gemara soon. So we wanted to know if Rebbe follows the view of Rabbi Yehuda, but does Rabbi Yehuda agree with Rebbe that Yom Kippur is mechaper whether he did Shuvah or not? And the Gemara says no. Rabbi Yehuda does not follow you, Rebbe. We're up to the Brisa to prove that Rabbi Yehuda does not. It's a stam sifra, and we know the author of the sifra when it's anonymous is Rabbi Yehuda. So therefore, let's see if Rabbi Yehuda agrees with Rebbe that Yom Kippur forgives you whether you did Shuvah or not. Says the Gemara. We're on Daf Gimel and Aleph, about 15 lines on the bottom. The first part of the line is Savalo Kerebi the Tanya. We learned in the Brisa. And we're going to say that Yehuda does not agree with the principle of Rebbe that Yom Kippur itself is mechaper. I would have thought Yom Kippur mechaper. I would have thought Yom Kippur is atones al shavim v'al she'ein shavim, regardless whether he did shuvah or not. And why would you think so? Kavadinu. What is the purpose of Yom Kippur? The role of Yom Kippur is to be mechaper, to forgive. Korbanos, for example, do the same thing. They are mechaper. So Medinu, and it makes sense. Hoyel, since the Chatas Hashem Mechaper, Yom Kippur Mechaper, since Yom Kippur serves like a carbon in lieu of a carbon, it's Mechaper. Machatas Hashem Mechaper al Shavim. When it comes to Chatas Hashem, you have to do vidu as well. Vadu is Chatasam. So Yom Kippur Mechaper al Shavim. So to Yom Kippur, you need to do tshuva. So this Brisa holds you need to do tshuva for Yom Kippur to be effective. You're going to ask me, how can you compare the Chatas v'Hashem? Chatas v'Hashem, they have a weakness. She'ein mechapin ala mezid k'sheged. Chatas primarily, except for 4 exceptions, are there only for a shegeg. There's only a few times when mezid, like by a nazir, or by a shvuah of a pekadni you lied, or shvuah edus you say I don't have any witness, I have no testimony, and I swear whatever, and then it turned out to be that I lied. 4 exceptions, or shivcha charufa. But everywhere else it's only for shegeg, so it's weak. But Mashiach and Yom Kippur has the capacity to forgive even for a mezid. Maybe you don't have to do tshuva either. And if I would think, since it can forgive for mezid and shegeg, maybe Yom Kippur also forgives him if he didn't do tshuva. Therefore it says ach cholok. It says and it says in the pasuk ach. The pasuk starts off when it says ach ba'asal lachodesh. We have a rule that ach, we haven't been in psachim. Ach comes to limit. Now what? Yom Kippur does not forgive everything. What doesn't it forgive for? Those people who don't do tshuva. So clearly this Brisa holds, not like Rebbe, you need to do tshuva. And so what does Rabbi Yehuda? And Stam Sifra, who's the author of Sifra? Mani Rabbi Yehuda. It says clearly, shavim in, loy shavim loy. Rabbi Yehuda says that Yom Kippur does not work unless you actually did tshuva. Says the Gemara, okay, forget this discussion about Rebbe, whether Rabbi Yehuda agreed or not, but I got a problem with Sifra itself. If you tell me that the Sifra was written as anonymous as Rabbi Yehuda, I have a contradiction of Sifra. You just quoted me a Brisa which says clearly that only Yom Kippur is effective to tshuva. But Rami, Tam Sifra have a contradiction. The time not the Brisa in Sifra, I would have thought that loy yehei Yom Kippurim mekaper. I would have thought Yom Kippur would not be effective. Elin kenis anaboy. You did all the right things on Yom Kippur. You fasted. The karu mikra kodesh. You called it mikra kodesh. Big machlekes in Rashi and Tosfos. And what's interesting is Rashi says you didn't daven and say the words, mikra kodesh. Says Tosfos, what are you talking about? Davening is midrabanan. No. What it says right here, can't be redundant. It says here, you didn't fast, you didn't work, and the third thing is, you didn't say Mikra Kodesh. Well, you didn't say Mikra Kodesh. So Rashi said, I quote you Rashi, the second line, midline line, like Kiblu bebechais of Lame Mekadesh Yisrael Kippurim. You didn't add that line, and you're davening Mekadesh Yisrael Kippurim. So it says that's Midrabanan, but don't hear Mahatayda here. The Ritva says, Mekan, that davening is Mahatayda. That this bracha on Shabbos, on Yom Tov Yom Kippur, is Mahatayda. Very interesting. The Achrayim want to say what Rashi is saying here is not even though Rashi says clearly, it doesn't say davening, but based on so davening, it meant you're supposed to make kiddush. And now on your kippur you can't make kiddush, but just like Shabbos, you have zochas, you have Shabbos lekacha. Shabbos is not limited to Shabbos, including Yom Kippur. So there's a mitzvah ma'atoida, whether in the nusach of davening, which is midrabban or not, but the etzem inyan of saying mikra kodesh, that is ma'atoida on Yom Kippur. Taisus learns Mikra Kodesh means, why are you not working on Yom Kippur? Is it because you're lazy or because it's a Torah said so? Same thing, why aren't you eating? Because you're on a diet or because it's a mitzvah? That's what Mikra Kodesh is. As Kodesh or not. Anyway, bottom line is, you didn't do what you're supposed to do on Yom Kippur. You didn't fast, you worked. Leis Anabai, the Kara Mikra Kodesh, also in Melachim, and Haino Yom Kippur is still effective. Now, even though we know that Yom Kippur is not, we'll see in a minute. Okay, Yom Kippurim, that Yom Kippur is still. See, Mama didn't do tshuva. It's worse than not doing tshuva. You're desecrating the very day that's supposed to give you tshuva. But that's vegan. It's mechaper, and we'll see later in the Gemara that it's mechaper all the other avedas except the avedas you just did right now, because ain't senega and askatega, or ain't ketega and askatega. So what do we see from here? Here comes the Sifra and says clearly that you don't have to do Tshuva Yom Kippur. How's going on? Which Sifra is right? Hakim Bobi Rabbi Yehuda. I'm going to buy Lakasha. Harebi, Rabbi Yehuda. You have no breda. You must say that this is Rebbe and this is Rabbi Yehuda. Even though both in Sifra anonymous, obviously it's not the same Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is the one who holds you need to do Tshuva, and Rebbe, we learned before, does hold you don't need to do Tshuva. No problem. However, Rabbi comes along and says, Rebbe. They're both Rebbe. They're both Rebbe. That you don't need to do tshuva. But what in one case, in one brayz it says you don't need to do tshuva at all, and you're kippur chapel. The other one's talking about what avedas are you doing? Avedas on the day of your kippur. So this is pshat. Rebbe because the yoma. The other avedas in kippur chapel. That's the brayz that says shavim le'in shavim. This brayz that says that your kippur not mechaper is talking about this aved you just did right now. You ate on Yom Kippur. That Yom Kippur won't be mechaper. You worked on Yom Kippur, that won't be mechaper. Or mikra kodesh you didn't do. And I'll prove it to you. The Eli Temahachi, if you're going to hold the Rebbe, hold that Yom Kippur mechaper and everything. So Kodesh, the Yom Kippur, and the Rebbe Leslie. Why did the Torah say that if you don't behave on Yom Kippur, you get Kodesh? The Yom Kippur mechaper that as well. You'll never get Kodesh. How is that possible? How can you give me a Heichet Timtza that you'll ever get Kodesh according to if Rebbe holds? Now the Gemara is going to say you're now going to find a Heichet Timtza, which means could even be according to the Rebbe. At least more Christians will see differently, but it could be according to the Rebbe here. The Rebbe would hold that on Yom Kippur is mechaper everything, including not eating on Yom Kippur, including everything else. There's a beautiful sikh the Rebbe talking about a guy who's is a broker, a stockbroker, and if he leaves his office for 2 minutes to come to shul on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, even though he did everything wrong, he has all the milas of Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah. Ashanti a shayfer and Kippur to do something. Let's say the Ovid Balayla Vamis. You worked at now because we're learning right now that only Yom Kippur, the day of Yom Kippur, is mechaper. Yeah, we're taking it literally. Only the day of Yom Kippur, not the night. So if on Yom Kippur you ate, so you get cutters. Yom Kippur is mechaper according to that, even you didn't do tshuva, even for its own avedas, but Yom Kippur is mechaper only by day. Only mechaper by day. Says the Gemara, the Heichet Timtzi is good over Balayla v'mid la'asa. Your mama you don't have a day to be mechaperim. But it says ki b'yoyim hazeh yechaper aleich. So the Gemara leima. Okay, or the cutters the imam Leslie. So that okay, fine, I'll grant you that. Shaykh cutters at night, let's say. But that means by day is never Shaykh cutters. By day is never Shaykh cutters. And the pasuk says the etzem hayom hazeh. In the pasuk where it says cutters, it says etzem hayom hazeh. So if you're going to take yom literally, that it means day, then the cutters is also for day. How can you? So he says, since you cannot get cutters by day, you must say you have no breda that the avedis you do on Yom Kippur against Yom Kippur, it won't be meichel. Otherwise, how are you gonna get cutters by day? And says kibbutz mayemazeh, dafka by day you'll get cutters. So you want to know? I'll find you a hechetimsa. I'll tell you how we find it. The ochal he ate a piece of raw meat. The chanke and the word he choked on it. The mason he died. Since he died doing an aveda, it's like you go into the mikveh, the sheretz b'yoder. The Rishonim ask about why he's in mechaper still. It's like the sheretz b'yoder. Now there's a big machlek is a Rishonim. When we say Yom Kippur is mechaper, is it every single second of Yom Kippur is mechaper, or is it just the last second of Yom Kippur that's mechaper? So the fact you said that he ate a piece of meat and he died. The fact that he said he ate a piece of meat and died in the middle of the day, if you're telling me that you're not neschapa until the last second, then we have to die straight away. Could have died an hour later, could have died 2 hours later, as long as he died before the last second of Yom Kippur. He wasn't. So therefore, the way Rashi learns the Gemara here, Rashi says Rashi learns every single second of Yom Kippur is mechaper. So there wasn't a second at post Aveda that it could be mechaper. So really, I can say that behold that Yom Kippur is mechaper even if you ate on Yom Kippur, mechaper on that very Aveda. So when you get cutters, if you didn't have allow a rega, even one rega of Yom Kippur after the Aveda that you did. That's how Rashi learns. Taisus disagrees. And Taisus says, no, it's the last second of the Kippur that's mechaper. Now, what's the machlekes totally? Machlekes l'chayda totally as follows. When we say Yom Kippur is mechaper, is it the Seir Azazel that's mechaper, or is it the day of Yom Kippur mechaper? If you hold like those Rishonim that hold that the day of Yom Kippur is mechaper itself, but you even have a Seir Mishlech, then what do you need Seir Mishlech for? What is Seir Mishlech? Yom Kippur itself is mechaper. If every must be that Yom Kippur is not mechaper every second, because Yom Kippur every second, what do you need to say for? Yom Kippur mechaper the last second, so the Aved is bein zulazu, Yom Kippur will take care of. But what happens if I don't make it to the end of Yom Kippur? Cholpochas I had the Sila Zazel is mechaper me. You had to go before, the Aved is between the Shilas of Pnim and Shilas of Chutz. So if you did an Aveda after what do you call it? If you did not make it to the end of Yom Kippur, you still in Schap, oh, you're available because you're Azazel. So therefore, if you learn that it's the Sila Azazel that's doing the kapara, if you learn that the day Yom Kippur itself is doing the kapara, you must learn it's the last second. You can't learn it's every second. But if you learn that the Sila Azazel is that Yom Kippur is mechaper only through the Sila Azazel, then it's not a problem. You can say as well that in fact, so what's a chilik? So Taisa says, so what's the difference in Kippur and Azazel? Taisa says the Sila Azazel, the Sila Azazel does it. Takes away the cutters, doesn't take everything else away. Yom Kippur comes along and finishes the job. So therefore you can learn that Yom Kippur every single second. I still need both to do the full thing. Anyway, so then the Gemara, so that's one hechetim. If you learn it's the last second of Yom Kippur, then it's the last second of Kippur. If it's the last second of Kippur, then Fafal. Inami or Shibedu Chum. Inami or the Ochel Samach Lishkid you ate the last second, the Lahavish Huslich Fudule. You ate the last second, so therefore there was no time afterwards from the whichever way you learn. Every second or the last second doesn't matter. You ate right into the night, so therefore it could be mechaper. So bottom line is there is a heichid timsa where you can have cutters, and therefore there's no hechlich to learn that the Rebbe holds that Yom Kippur is not mechaper if you ate on Yom Kippur. So Gemara doesn't come to a conclusion there. How far we go with Yom Kippur? Anyway, says Gemara weiter. So we had in the Mishnah, Machlekes is where the Kohanim, according to Yehuda, only when it comes to Tumah, they have a separate carbon. But when it comes to all the other Avedas, the Palasim Shaleach, the Sila Zazel, and according to Rabbi Shimon, no, the Kohanim are totally separate than the Yidden. So the Gemara, let's first understand the Mishnah. In the wording of the Mishnah is funny. First you tell me they're all the same, and then you tell me, so what's the difference between Kohanim and Israel? Who said there's a difference? You just said they're all the same. Let's just read the Mishnah. Tani, it says Echad Yisrael, Echad Kohanim, Echad Kohanim Meshuach, all the same. And then you say, Ma ben Yisrael, the Kohanim, what's the difference? I want to read the other comment. This is what he's saying here. Echad Yisrael, Echad Koini, Echad Koini Meshuach, Mischaprim, B'Sira Mishalech. When it comes to Shad Avedas, which we just listed in the Mishnah, Haida, Loy Haida, B'Shayge, B'Zad, and all those things, Kalas, Chamudas, no difference. That's the same Mishalech. They're all the same. But ain't chilik ben no difference. No, ma ben Yisrael Kohen. Is there a difference between Yisrael Kohen? Yes, there is. Only when it comes to tumah. Shapar and mechaper al kohenim al tumas midrash gedoshav. The part is for Aaron and basically including all the kohenim for tumah, and we are the seir, which is la'am, and that's why you mix the two bloods together because they're both for the same reason. This kohenim Yisrael mix them all together. Umani Rabbi Yehudi. This follows view Rabbi Yehudi. Tani blood the Baraisa. It says in the pasuk, the chippah es mikdash hakodesh. So we go through the whole pasuk. Follow. The chippah it will forgive for the mikdash hakodesh ze ulefnai lefnim. The way Rashi learns it's a little different, but I learned if you became tamei while you're inside the Kodesh Kedoshim. How do you become tamei inside the Kodesh Kedoshim? No, there's no one there. Okay. That's not the kind of thing we're talking about here that you died for. As oil moyed, it has to be a tummy mess. As oil moyed, the oil moyed that's referring to you became tummy in the hechel. Oh, the next Kohen God walked in. Okay, there's gone. Okay. Anyway, the hechel became tummy in the hechel. Mizbeach kimashmai, literally, which is that in the inner mizbeach you were maktik toitus while you were tummy. You became tummy, and all these cases Rashi says is you were told to leave and you didn't leave. Remember, if you became tummy by accident, you're not chayiv or anything unless you leave immediately. So there was shehiyah involved there, and you waited long enough that you could have become tummy again. Yechapet, then the pasuk says yechapet elu azoris, that you became tummy while you were in the azorah, the courtyard. Koinim kimashmai, so koinim. Then it says in the pasuk, we're reading, going through every word in the pasuk. This is what is being mechaper on the kodesh, on the oil on the mizbeach, and on the kohenim. Then it says about kol am hakol. It also forgives for everybody else. Eli Yisrael, and then the pasuk includes yechaper, Elu alavim. Hushva kulun lechaporach. They all have the same outcome. Shemizchaprim b'sira mishtaleach b'shar averos. So we see clearly from here that what the mishtaleach does everybody and includes kohenim, kol am hakol, and yechaper. Everyone is included. Rav Shimon says, "Kishem shadam soye hanasa b'fnim mechaper al Yisrael al tumas mikdash." Just like the dam soye is only for Yidden, not for the kohenim. Kach dam hapar mechaper al kohenim al tumas mikdash. So too the dam hapar. Ukishem sheviduya. He says there's a part in Yosef the vidui. He says the part itself. Just like the Seir and Nasa B'fnim for the Yisrael, there's no vidui. So too the par that Aaron Kohen brought, even though there's a vidui with it, it was not the vidui that was mechaper on the tumah. It's the par itself. Because the par for the Kohenim is like the Seir for the Bnei Yisrael. But now you also had a vidui, an extra vidui. What's that vidui for? Then he says, "Ukashem shevidui shasila mishaleh mechaper Yisrael b'shar avedos." When you didn't say mishaleh, they said vidui. That vidui is mechaper the Eden. Kach vidui shapan because it's extra. You did the Aaron Kohen did a video by the par. Mechaper ala kohenim b'shar avedos is mechaper and kohenim b'shar avedos. Shimon holds that the kohenim was totally separate. Questionable in the talk about what about the Levim according to Shimon, because we just said before in Rabbi Yehuda you had to have a separate word in the pasuk to include the Levim. Yechaper. No, the Levim sometimes I consider an am b'fnei as well, not just kohenim. And what about according to Rabbi Shimon? Doesn't mention all Levim. Will Levim go with a family of kohenim? Because there's a whole chakir and achreim. How do we understand the relationship between a kohen and a levi? Is the pshat every kohen is a levi? Because sometimes it's called a levi, but they have an extra level, or the pshat is a totally separate group of people. And so if you learn that the levi is a kohen, but kohen is one extra special, then the levi also a separate am than the Yisrael, and they'll be included with the kohenim in their carbon. But if you learn that a levi is a separate people altogether, then you need a pasuk and without a pasuk. Anyway, so anyway, I told Rab Shimon, how about Hushu? It says the pasuk clearly we compare Kohen and Yisraelim, and you're telling me that they're totally independent, separate. My Hushu said of Shimon, Hushu doesn't mean exactly the same. I mean, Hushu make a point of it. Everyone will be forgiven on Yom Kippur. But the modus operandi might be different. Each one is chaper according to themselves. My time of Shimon, what's the svarah? It says in Pasuk, the lokach and Aaron like Kohen takes. You take the shneas edim to sedim, iskir sedim shleis and nasbefnim. Why say shneas sedim? They're both the same thing. Now what? Maaseh and nasbefnim is only for the Yisrael. Edim chapel kohenim. Alter Migdash doesn't work for. It's not effective for kohenim. So too the sedim and outside is not for kohenim. But Rabbi Yehuda, what does he do? Pasuk shneas sedim. It sounds like the same. You know why they're compared to shoving the matter of a kaim of a dam who does it comes to be the same look. There's a beautiful the Yaros Davash has a beautiful pshat. It's a beautiful pshat. He says that we find that the Seir is a muscle for the Yetzer Hara. We had before a while ago for the Shadim. He says there's two kinds of Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara for terrible Avedis and the Yetzer Hara for small Avedis. But the Gemara says this is the ruse that his scheme. Say kach. And therefore we say, I want you to know that Shnei Asidim, both the Yetzer Hara is bad at each other. It starts off small, but it ends up big, so they're both the same. So be careful with each one. That's really quite beautiful. They ask, actually, the Shainim, not the Shainim ask, by Ben Soyer Moida, we said it's impossible to have a year because how can you have two parents should be the same? And what do you mean you can have two animals the same? How can you have two animals the same?
One's Zochel, one's the cave. It's a very big leap to say they'll have the same.
That's the problem. Zochel and the cave, and both Zochel be look. We had a Mishnah that no two people. We had a Mishnah that no two people look the same. We had a Mishnah that no two people look the same things. Everything else. This the Ritva asked the question. That's actually Shana and Yula asked the question. So one of the answers are the differences by Ben Soyer and Moiri is you need them both to sound the same, which means that one of them is either a Sodis or an Angler. How can a man? The Simonim are, therefore they can't be moiled. They can't be moiled. How are you going to have a Ben Soyer moiled? That's the problem over there. But by animals, it's not the voice. It's just the matter and the kaima. That you can have two people that more or less look the same. That's the Shayim answer. Not my answer. Anyway, weiter. What is it that we learned? It says in the pasuk, "B'shochat esseir hachatas asher la'am," and it says that you should shech the seir hachatas asher la'am. This is only la'am. Right, this is the Sinas Befrim. It's only for the Bnei Yisrael and the Kohanim go on to Aaron. Or B'mei Chapru, what's the kapara? The Parashal Aaron. Yochol, I would have thought Lo Yis Chapru B'Parashal Aaron. How can they be? On the other hand, how can they be forgiven in Aaron? Shani Kwanem. It says the pasuk that Asher Loi. It says in the pasuk there that Aaron should bring the par hachatas Asher Loi as if it's his personal. How can you include all the rest of the Kohanim in his carbon? Ma'at ain't like a kapara. But so what's blight? What do they have? They have no kapara. Nishta Kedach Mekan. They're not included in Israel. They're not included with Aaron. But then we have a pasuk where it says Yechaper. Remember the first pasuk we said Yechaper. It says clearly ala koinim. So we know they do have a kapara Yom Kippur. Where are we going to shoe them in? Where are we going to fit them in? With Am or with Aaron? But Sinul and Kapara, my name is Chapin, so where do we put them in? Mutiv she's Chapru b'Para shel Aaron, rather put them in Aaron. Why by Aaron? Because Harihutim Mikloli, we already see by Aaron that we're not so particular. How do we know? Because it says in the pasuk Asher Loihim, and then the very same pasuk says V'chipah ba'adoi v'ad Beisai. You just took the loy and extended it to Beisai. Loy means personal. Now you're saying it's family, and once you already widen and expand it to the family, expand it to the wider family, which are all the Kohanim. And do not be mechaper there's no exceptions. So the mother, but I continues. You can ask me a question. What exactly the question? I'll tell you in a minute. You can ask me how do it says base Aaron Baruch Hashem, base Levi Baruch Hashem, Yila Hashem Baruch Hashem. Therefore, my answer is going to be it says clearly base Aaron, the part of the family, the Aaron's family, the wider family, all the Kohanim. Man Tana, who is a Tana, I'm going to be like Rabbi Yehuda. Definitely, this Braisa cannot come out to Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Because it sounds like the Kohanim are everything is under Aaron. So obviously, it's not Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda holds that the Kohanim are like the Bnei Yisrael when it comes to Sem Shalech. Rabbi Yehuda, I'm a Kohanim. Yes, my kapara. Sem Shalech is included. It includes Sem Shalech. The Braisa asks, and how are they going to have a kapara? Of course, they have a kapara. It's Sem Shalech. Clearly not Rabbi Yehuda. Umani, who is it? Rav Amar. Rav says, Rav Shimoni. I'm a Kohanim and a kapara. They hold the Kohanim done Sem Shalech. So if you can't get from Aaron, where do they go? So therefore, we answer Aaron a Kohanim. Abayinov Rabbi Yehuda. When it says here they have no kapara, it didn't mean an argument in everything. It meant only in Tumah. In Tumah they have no kapara. Remember, Tumah they're with Aaron, And that's the question there. But it says Yichapel Koinim. It says in the top of the page Yichapel Koinim isn't everything that you have the base soul is Chapel so to a Koinim. But we find that Kapara in all other Vedas, and therefore Kamoidim Matzinu Sheyesh Mehen Kapara B'Shal Vedas. Now that we've established, definitely the Koinim are included in Shal Vedas, especially if you the whole that get together with the Bnei Yisrael. Is Kach Yesh Len Kapara Betum is Midrash Kedusha. They also have a Kapara than Tumah, but where the name is Chaprim. So we answer Mutav. She's Chaprim Parashalah. They belong with Aaron. Shadi Hutam Miklal. It's a basic. Since Aaron we expanded the loy to the whole family, say to Koinim. But it's Chaprim V'Shem and they should not join the Bnei Yisrael. Because there it says Lo Hutam Miklal. It says Kili La'am to the Im Nafshachlem. You can ask me a question. I want you to know what the answer is. It says Beis Aaron Baruch Hashem. Umayim Nafshachlem. What would the question have been? Because will ask, okay, Beis is his immediate family, his wife or children. But what about the rest of the Kohanim? They're not cousins or nothing. So we answer, Kulan Kareem Beisai. All the Kohanim are one family, one happy family. So it says, Beis Aaron, Baruch Hashem. And that pasuk also says, Beis Halevi. Yidi Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Says, how can you tell me La'am is coming to tell you that it only goes to Bnei Yisrael? This is what Rav Shimon said. Only for Am Yisrael and not for Kohanim. Al Chayda, I use it for something altogether. And by the way, we need to go back to it says, Mid'am leve that the money, who pays for the animal, who pays for the Seder Mishalech? It should come from the collection, from the common collection. So we need the Am to tell you who's paid for it, not to tell you that the kapara is only limited to Am and not to the Kohanim. In other words, why do you have to say that? Because the Kohen Gadol pays for his own par. So maybe I would have thought that the Seder Mishalech also the Kohen Gadol should pay out of his own pocket. So therefore, I tell you no, that the Seder Mishalech that comes from what do you call it? From Bnei Yisrael. So the Gemara that no, I don't need that with those words because that I can learn from further on. It says in the pasuk Me'es Adas Bnei Yisrael. You should take the Shnei Serizim. It says clearly in the pasuk Me'es Adas Bnei Yisrael. So I don't need it for money. So what I do La'am to tell you, so Rav Shimon only Bnei Yisrael the Kohanim are separate. Now that's another question. You're telling me we thought that Hashaloi means only to Aaron HaKohen. But we need a good time, maybe something all together. Maybe how do you know whose money? Who pays for the part? Nothing to do with who the kapara is for. It's more to do with who pays for it. That Aaron HaKohen has to pay for his own part. There's a cost, his own power. Nothing to do with that his korban has only been mechaper himself. So why would you think that it only applies for himself? I said Ashaloi. Ashaloi means that it's his own. He paid for it. And then it says Yachol Yavmishal Tzibur. I would have thought that Yavmishal Tzibur. I would have thought this. Maybe the Eden Taka shouldn't pay for it because they're not including the kapara. The outcome, why should they pay for it? Since all the kohanim are benefiting from it, maybe they should contribute to the animal. In this part of Aaron HaKohen, it's his family and all the Kohen as we just learned. So maybe they should pay for it. Because they forget benefiting. That's what. So what are we Nashaloi for? To see who pays for it. So why would you think that Nashaloi is coming to say that the kapara is only for Aaron HaKohen? And then you have to bring an extra pasuk. I would have thought, okay, that no, why they shouldn't bring unless it's his own money. If other people pay for it, it's all right. It says the second time, it says another pasuk there that should be Ashaloi. It says 3 times. Is we have a Rubai Kachiv, it says it twice. It means that even not only the Chatzil people, they have is no good. So what's going on? What's bothering this? The whole Braisa word. How do I know Kohanim can get a kapara? It says Ashaloi. Ashaloi is only coming to tell you that he has to pay with his own pocket. Nothing to do with who the kapara is for. The Gemara says Tanah Hakash. This will bother him. Why is it that the Kohanim are not included in the Seder Mishalech? Because they're not paying for it. The Loika Chashav Ben Minor, they haven't paid anything for it, so therefore they're not included. Ashalom. That who pays? We said before, Ashalom is coming to tell you who contributes, who pays the not the kohanim. They're not chayiv machzor shekel and so on. So the same token, who paid for Aaron's korban? Only Aaron. So just like they're not included in this Seder Mishalech because they didn't pay for it, they didn't contribute. Maybe they're not included in the part of Aaron HaKohen either because they didn't contribute. Uka and we answer Kulun Kurim Beisai. It says clearly the pasuk that Bechiba about it says in the pasuk is Mechaper for himself and Ba'ad Beisai. Bechiba by Beisai. Beisai includes Beis Aaron, Baruch Hashem. They're included. The Gemara Bishlei Rab Shimon Rab Shimon. I understand. Hainu Dixiv today Viduin. I know that there's two Viduin and Damapar. You have three Viduin. You have two by the par. You have by sprinkling the blood and the blood itself. You have two viduis and then the blood itself. The blood itself. What does the blood of every carbon do? That's the kapara. So you have two viduis. Yeah, by the way, when you take the power and when you spraying the blood, you say vidui, and then the blood itself. So you have three different kaparas. Chad keneged seir nasa b'fnim. One is for the seir nasa b'fnim for the tumah. The chad keneged seir nasa b'chutz, and one is for the seir nasa b'chutz. Tell you what, that Aaron does it for his own family, and the chad keneged seir mishleich. And the third one is whatever the seir mishleich achieves, that kapara does if Aaron does it for all the kohanim. I understand. Yehuda today we're doing that. Since all the kohanim already included in the seir mishleich, so they only need what the seir does inside, which is there was a yedi in the beginning, no yedi then, and what the seir does on the outside, the muslim on the outside, where there was no yedi in the beginning, but it was yedi in the end. So those two taka kohanim are separate. I need two, but the third one, which represents the seir mishleich, you hold that the kohanim are included in the same carbon as everybody else. So what do I need the third one? What do you have third kapara for? So I have two vidas and a kapara. What do I need so many? The chad vidi v'dam isagya. You have one vidi and the blood itself is enough to mechaper the kohanim. For what they're separate, they need a separate kapara than Israel. Okay, one to replace the seir nasa b'fnim, that kind of tumah, and one the seir nasa b'chutz. That's it. And all the other avedas they're included in the seir mishaleach. So when answers echad loy v'echad lebeisai. First, he needs a kapara for himself, and the second one is to take care of all the kohanim. And why is that? We already had it many times. The Gemara, interesting Gemara doesn't bring out here. First, take care of yourself, then you can take care of everybody else. First, when you're on a plane, first put the mask on yourself, and then you put on everybody else. This is how the right way to do. That let someone who himself already now is pure, and he could be mechaper l'chayiv. If he's equal to everybody else, and he's still also guilty of avedas, he can't be mechaper. We finished the first Pedic. The good news is we finished the first Pedic, and the other news is that we're still continuing in Tumah for another Pedic, but then that's it. We'll continue.